Weird ways your ancestors survived that would kill you today. Let's get right into it. Number 1. Eating raw everything. Imagine biting straight into a dead squirrel like it's a warm apple turnover. No seasoning, no fire, just fur, blood, and optimism. That's lunch if you were a Stone Age champion. Back then, humans didn't have ovens, grills, or 5-minute microwave hacks. Your ancestors were basically walking stomachs with spears. And those stomachs, they were ironclad digestion machines. But you eat gas station sushi once, and suddenly you're live-tweeting your descent into intestinal madness. See, our ancient relatives had different gut flora microbes that could politely ask E. coli to leave. Over generations, those bacteria partied hard, adapted, and became biological bouncers. Modern humans, not so much. We've got immune systems that panic when gluten enters the room. So no, your paleo diet blog won't save you. Try ancestral raw liver now, and you'll be curled up on a hospital gurney whispering, "I just wanted abs." Basically, your great-grandfather could eat a roadkill rabbit and jog away. You eat an undercooked egg and write a Yelp review titled "Death in Brunch Form." Number 2. Drinking pond water like a beverage. Picture this. A guy in mammoth fur pants kneels at a swampy puddle, scoops up some green-tinted mystery water with his bare hands, slurps it down, and lives. No Brita filter, no boiling, no sterile canteen. Just muddy soup straight from nature's armpit. That's how your ancestors hydrated. The thing is, ancient humans weren't drinking spring water like influencers say they do. They were chugging whatever didn't actively try to crawl away, and somehow their bodies just dealt with it. Evolution handed them digestive systems with the processing power of a garbage disposal. Meanwhile, you drink tap water in a new city, and your intestines launch a protest march. The truth, our ancestors coexisted with bacteria, parasites, and God knows what floating in the stream. Their immune systems were like gladiators, constantly fighting, constantly winning. Yours, it sends you into DEFCON 1 because your oat milk expired yesterday. And don't even get cocky if you're outdoorsy. Just because you own a $140 Nalgene bottle dose in tea, mean you ready for free-range hydration. Your great-grandmother drank out of hoof prints. You cry if your water has a weird aftertaste. So yeah, try sipping that untouched Alpine Brook water today. And in 36 hours, you'll be doing the Pepto-Bismol cha-cha. Number 3. Living with constant parasites. Let's talk roommates, but not the human kind. Think worms, lice, and tiny things that crawl out of your eyelashes. Your ancestors, they were never alone. Their intestines were like a crowded subway of wriggling freeloaders. Their scalps, a buffet for head lice, skin mites. Oh, absolutely. These people didn't have parasites. They were walking ecosystems. But here's the twist. They were mostly fine. Their bodies and parasites had a weirdly functional relationship. The worms weren't trying to kill them. They just wanted rent in the form of blood or nutrients. You, on the other hand, get one mosquito bite and immediately Google dengue symptoms like your will depends on it. Modern humans have immune systems that freak out over cat dander and pollen. Ancient humans had literal worms in their eyeballs and were like, "Hey, just another Tuesday." And no, deworming isn't the solution to everything. In fact, some scientists think we've become so squeaky clean that our immune systems get bored and start attacking us for fun. That's right, your body misses the parasites. So don't be surprised if your DNA longs for the good old days where every meal came with a side of microscopic squatter. Number 4. Eating dirt on purpose, not by accident. Not because they tripped and face-planted on purpose. Voluntarily, frequently. This delightful practice is called geophagy. And no, it's not a Greek philosopher. It's the act of eating dirt, like it as a snack. Your ancestors did it to get minerals, iron, calcium, magnesium, all hiding out in the world's worst trail mix. Pregnant women especially would grab a handful of soil and treat it like prenatal Flintstones vitamins. Today, if someone sees you nibbling clay, you're either in a TikTok wellness cult or being escorted out of a Whole Foods. But back then, totally normal. The soil wasn't sterilized either. It was full of flavor enhancers, like bacteria, fungi, maybe a worm or two. And that microbial cocktail, your ancestors' bodies were built to handle it. Their guts said, "Sure, we'll take the dirt with extra crunch." Yours, you accidentally breathe in one speck of dust and sneeze like a Victorian child with tuberculosis. The weird part, Some scientists think eating dirt helped train the immune system, almost like licking nature to install antivirus software. These people were doing raw, unfiltered immunity boosting. Before it was cool, try that today, and your doctor will look at you like you just confessed to eating sidewalk grout recreationally. So next time your stomach feels a little weird, maybe what it needs is a nice spoonful of 10,000-year-old topsoil. Number 5. Sleeping in terror, let's get cozy in a cave on a dirt floor. Surrounded by howling wind and probably at least one set of glowing predator eyes watching from the darkness. That was bedtime. There were no locks, no white noise machines, just fear, exhaustion, and the vague hope you weren't someone's midnight snack. Your ancestors didn't sleep in 8-hour Netflix-adjacent blocks. They napped in shifts, light, fragmented sleep, constant arousal, because survival demanded you be one snore away from fight or flight. Fast forward to today, you wake up once at 3 a.m. and spend the next 4 hours Googling, do I have insomnia or am I just a broken human? But the fragmented sleep, totally normal, at least back then. Some even argue we evolved to wake up in the middle of the night for a little second sleep, maybe chat with a neighbor, stoke the fire, avoid dying. You know, relatable stuff. Nowadays, if you sleep less than 7 hours, some sleep guru tells you you're shaving years off your life. But your ancestors? They barely slept and still managed to invent fire, tools, and social anxiety. So if your sleep is a little weird, maybe it's not dysfunction. Maybe it's genetic muscle memory saying, hey buddy, something might eat you, because nothing says sweet dreams like knowing a saber-toothed cat could be your alarm clock. You know how some people say, I don't wash my hair every day, it's better for the oils. Because for them, bathing was a quarterly event, if that, and by bathing, we don't mean soaking in lavender bubbles with lo-fi music. And somehow they survived. They didn't have deodorant, no shampoo, no 5-step Korean skincare routines. Their skincare was dirt, and their natural scent was wet mammal. Skin microbiomes were busy little soldiers, armed to defend against bacteria, cuts, and climate no serums required. You, on the other hand, forget to shower for 2 days, and your own socks file a restraining order. Ironically, our obsession with being clean might be making us more vulnerable. You scrub off your microbiome like it's a mistake, then wonder why your skin freaks out when a new lotion touches it. Your ancestors? They were filthy. Gloriously, functionally filthy. Sure, they probably stank like regret, but they also weren't allergic to their own laundry detergent. Number 7. Making fire indoors without ventilation. Let's do a fun thought experiment. Take a bunch of twigs, light them on fire, put them in a mud hut, breathe deeply. Welcome to prehistoric home life. Fire kept you warm, cooked your food, lit the darkness, and also slowly smoked you like jerky every single day. Your ancestors lived in huts, caves, or shelters with zero exhaust systems. Their lungs were besties with soot, their eyes constantly irritated, their kids playing tag around an open flame like it was a Pinterest campfire aesthetic. Modern safety standards would faint on sight, and yet they adapted. Slowly, painfully, their bodies got somewhat used to breathing in wood smoke daily enough to not die immediately. It's likely they had more respiratory issues, but they just kept going because, well, the other option was freezing to death. You burn one scented candle too long and you re-Googling. How much smoke is too much smoke? So yeah, ancestors didn't have carbon monoxide detectors. They had vibes and guesswork. And somehow, that was enough. You can't handle secondhand vape. They lived in bonfire rooms and called it cozy. Number 8. Barefoot Everywhere, ERA. Yes, footwear. That wonderful human invention that separates you from stepping directly on bee stingers, sharp rocks, and literal mammoth poop. Your ancestors didn't have Jordans. They had feet. Calloused, gnarly, hardened feet that could probably win a street fight. They walked through forests, deserts, tundras, completely barefoot, not on plush hiking trails or Instagrammable boardwalks. No, they trekked across volcanic pebbles, frozen mud, and prehistoric Lego pieces. And they did it while carrying spears and children. At the same time, you stub your toe on a coffee table and demand financial compensation from the universe. These people, they ran from predators barefoot, stepped on thorn bushes barefoot, climbed cliffs barefoot, Basically, if you had working feet in the Stone Age, you were in the Olympics by default. The modern foot is a shadow of its former self. We've pampered it into submission with arch support and orthopedic inserts. That's why the minute you go to the beach without sandals, your soles start whispering, "We weren't made for this. We're HR now." And no, those minimalist barefoot shoes don't count. You're not primal. You're cosplaying as someone who could survive stepping on a stick. So next time your pedicure gets smudged, just remember, your ancestors once used their bare feet to escape. Saber-toothed cats and find drinking water before sunrise, and you can't walk to the mailbox without flip-flops. Number 9. Cuddling for survival. Let's talk about spooning, but not the romantic kind. We're talking pure, tactical body heat economics. Your ancestors didn't have central heating or heated blankets. Entire families, yes, including the smelly uncle, slept in a pile like puppies. Not because it was cute, but because frostbite was a real thing. Huddling was survival. If you didn't cuddle, you froze. End of story. Today, if someone touches you while you sleep, you scream boundary violation and buy a bigger mattress. But back then, physical contact equals life insurance. They didn't have pajamas or memory foam, just shared lice, body odor, and mutual understanding that warmth was more important than personal space. Also, remember, clothes weren't what they are today. You had some animal skin, maybe if it rained, you were wet. If it snowed, you were wet and dying slowly. So you did what any freezing human would do. Find the nearest warm body and cuddle like your life depended on it, because it did. You're over here arguing about room temperature settings. Your ancestors were playing high-stakes human Tetris to avoid hypothermia. And you wonder why modern humans have attachment issues. Number 10. Drinking blood. Like a smoothie, okay? Deep breath, because yes, your ancestors didn't just hunt animals, sometimes they sipped them. In certain ancient cultures, drinking blood wasn't a horror movie trope. It was a snack, a ritual, even a survival strategy, especially when food was scarce and nutrients were harder to come by than a functional family group chat. Fresh animal blood, high in iron, salt, and protein. Disgusting to you? Maybe. But to your ancient relatives, that was the original pre-workout. Some nomadic tribes mixed blood with milk, others drank it straight from the source, like their version of an energy drink, just one with a very short shelf life and very questionable branding. Your ancestors looked at a still warm puddle of goat blood and went, "Electrolytes. You pass out when your finger gets pricked at the doctor's office." And sure, modern people still do things like black pudding, which is basically blood sausage. But let's not kid ourselves. We sterilize it, cook it, wrap it in Instagram captions. Back then, it was raw, real, red. So while you're sipping your beetroot latte and thinking it's primal, just remember, your ancestors would have laughed and offered you a bone marrow and blood slushy instead. Because to them, blood wasn't gross. It was fuel. It was ritual. It was Tuesday. Number 11. Eating bark, bugs, and bones. Let's talk snacks, pre-packaged, crunchy, and full of protein. Now imagine they're insects, tree bark, and leftover bones boiled into broth. Appetizing? No. When times got tough, and they always got tough, your ancestors didn't complain about low-carb options. They ate what the forest coughed up. Beetles, grubs, ants, not because they were trying to reduce their carbon footprint, but because starvation was trending 24/7. Bark, surprisingly chewy. Certain types even had nutrients. Bugs, nature's original protein bars, and bones. You bet they sucked the marrow out like it was the last Capri Sun on Earth. Meanwhile, you skip a meal and act like your life is a survival documentary. Even when they did catch something, nothing was wasted. Tongue, liver, kidneys, hooves, all on the menu. You're out here discarding egg yolks while your ancestors were boiling skulls for soup stock. The point is, survival had no picky eaters. And the fact that you even can be picky today is proof of how insanely far we've come. Your ancestors didn't ask, "Is this gluten-free?" They asked, "Will this kill me?" And if the answer was maybe, they still ate it, because hunger is stronger than hesitation. Number 12. Dying young, but casually, here's a fun fact, your high school health class probably skipped. For most of human history, living past 30 was basically winning the lottery. Your ancestors didn't have midlife crises. They had mid-20s funerals. And while that sounds tragic, it was just life. People got injured, got infections, had complications during childbirth, or got eaten by things that don't even exist anymore. And they did it all with stoic resignation and maybe a bone flute solo. Modern humans panic when their phone battery drops to 10%. Ancient humans casually accepted that any day could be their last, and that day might be a Tuesday caused by stepping on a sharp rock. You worry about cholesterol. They worried about saber-toothed tigers. You drink herbal tea to reduce stress. They drank questionable swamp water and hoped the parasites had the day off. And honestly, that kind of existential clarity might have been freeing. No 5-year plans, no retirement accounts, just don't die today. That's it. That's the mood board. Of course, modern medicine is great and all. You should absolutely take your vaccines and brush your teeth. But there is something wild about realizing how ridiculously fragile ancient survival was, and how, despite it all, you're here. Because your ancestors' barefoot, parasite-ridden, dirt-teating, fire-breathing goblins somehow pulled it off. They survived long enough to pass down their DNA. And now you use it to argue about Wi-Fi speed on Reddit. Final twist. You'd be useless back then, but they'd be terrifying now. Here's the kicker. You wouldn't last 2 days in their world. But they, if you dropped one of your ancestors into 2025, they'd probably rule your entire neighborhood within a week. Why? Because they're built different, emotionally unflinching, physically unkillable, socially allergic. They didn't overthink, they just did. You get analysis paralysis over which toothpaste to buy. They made stone tools from actual rocks and fought off cave bears before lunch. You're not soft, you're re-optimized. But let's not pretend you could eat bark, drink goat blood, and outrun wolves while barefoot and mildly on fire. Your ancestors were monsters. Lovable, smelly, terrifying monsters. So next time you feel bad for forgetting leg day or crying during a documentary, just remember, you're not worse, you're just wired for a different apocalypse. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.